Steeler fans, welcome to this week's episode of Steelers Touch Down Under. I'm Matty Peverell with my co-host, as always, Marky D, Marky Davison. How you doing, mates?
I'm doing very well. It's another Saturday. It's almost August, I think, 1st coming up soon. We have training camp happening. Really excited about the season. And I was just telling you just then off air, it's like we waited all that time. Now it's here and now everything's happening. Like there's big plays, there's Rudolph news, there's Trubisky, there's Pickett, there's just everything's happening. And as the days continue, when you guys hear this and listen to BTSC along the way, there will be, it's going to be big plays for some people, and some of the offense will struggle, and guys won't do this, won't do that. So it's really funny how it transitions from what will happen to what is happening now, and what players are standing out. And then I think for me, it's hard to really watch some of the stuff. I go through Twitter, but I kind of wait until preseason when I can watch a full game, and then I can really see what's happening, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I think like we were talking about that on when we're chatting through the week, and I'm the same. Like, I want to be inspired by training camp, and maybe it's on the other side of the world, and we can't like just drive up there and check it out. It might be a bit different, but like,
yeah, definitely.
You sort of sit there and you got to take it with a grain of salt. Like you take 7 shots, right? Now, yeah, Ben like killed it at 7 shots, and it made a big difference down the stretch, like, fourth quarter comebacks and stuff like that. But like, how much stock can you take in 7 shots? Like, put it this way, like, they were saying that Mason Rudolph looked really good with the secondary. I've had questions about the secondary all off season. So I'm sitting there going, are they really bad? And I think the guys talked about on the preview, like, a bad result for the, offense is a good result for the defense, and likewise the other way around. So it's kind of like, it's hard. It's hard. I agree with you. It's what happens in preseason and what happens during the season. That's what counts.
Well, we are so far disconnected, right? So we live in Australia, as you guys know, and we can't drive down there, or we're not surrounded by, when we walk into a pub, or we walk into or past a local newsstand that has like maybe an article about the Pittsburgh Steelers and stuff like that. But you do have BTSC online. But what I'm saying is the culture here is different for you and I, and this is the chance that we have like the 1 hour or so to talk about the Steelers. But back to what you said about 7 shots. Is that dead set 7 plays? Just 7 plays, and that's it.
Yeah, and they got to score.
Right.
Yeah, it's like basically if you stop a play, you get a point. And if you don't, it's a point the other way. So
okay.
Yeah, I think it's just like, I don't know, like it's sort of hard. Like, and then I know in the preview they got a bit of a debate about where George Pickens got like his TD from, whether it was in 7 shots or whatever. Like, I think it all kind of doesn't really matter to me. Like, I just sort of think you want to see good plays. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like that, Pickens is standing out. I really like Calvin Austin standing out, apparently. I've also seen on Twitter that DeMarvin Leal looks really good too. So, I kind of think like this is all great stuff. And yeah, we'll get to that super chat. So like, this stuff is important, but it kind of doesn't mean as much.
But it's what we expected,
to Tomlin's press conference after day 1, and he was just like,
the same.
Asking all these leading questions. He's basically like, guys, it's training camp day 1. Like, get over it. We've got guys reporting for the first time almost. Like, you've been in this business long enough. Like, everyone wants this headline. Well, I kind of think the headline is, it's not that big a deal.
No, Tomlin's
like, call me an idiot, but it's not that big a deal.
Tomlin's like a masterclass of like public speaking, isn't he? He's just, going through the motions and routine plays routinely, like just means that's just a play. I think to a certain notion, he's probably making a bit of joke out of it too, right? He knows how good of a he is. So, and he's been dealing with the media so long. But what I like about Tomlin is he shuts down things straight away. Like, they asked him about the QB position. He said, well, it's only day 1. We'll see how we go from there. He can't grab too much out of it right now. And so the reporters go, oh, okay. But they're all asking about QB1, which we should be. But at the same time, it really is it's what we should expect. Like, we don't want, if we were to see the training camp and people drop fumbling footballs and they're not playing very well, like, no, you want to see them go out there and play how they've been playing the whole career.
But also, does that matter? Like, I'm going to ask you a question, right? Like,
really.
I sat there through the last preseason, and that was like training camp preseason, and all you heard was Jamar Chase was dropping balls left, right, and center. People were like, how did this guy get taken in the top 6 players? Like, this is bad. He can't catch a football. Adjustment's going to be hard. And week 1, he went out there. I think he went for like 180 yards week 1 and a couple of TDs and blitzed it all year. And he's probably a top 5. Yes, a top 5 receiver right now in the league. Like, does it matter? Like Ant Mac, he's done stuff at training camp. Have we ever seen anything during a game, even when he's there? No, he trips over his own feet. So, like, I just sort of, you got to show out. Like, it means a big deal that someone like a TJ Watt, makes mincemeat out of anyone he plays in training camp. That's important. But just because someone's balling out at training camp doesn't mean they're going to ball out in week 6 in, the fourth quarter when we need it, right? Like, and that's the context that I look at it through,
To me, most of training camp is really muscle memory, right? You're going through the motions of what certain plays,
ramping up.
Yeah, like even just getting the cadence in order, the snapping the ball in order, the motion in order, stuff like that. Even breaking from the huddle can be. You've seen teams in the past in the NFL who don't break from the huddle correctly, and they lose a timeout, or they lose plays, or they're not getting in set. All those things, I think, training camp is like that. And sure, go out there and excel and work on your footwork and all that kind of stuff. Work on body position, work on. You've been an athlete before. Work on your rhythm or just
your plyometrics, your balance. Yeah. You want to work on your timing, your feel for things, your cadence. Like you want to work on things like getting college guys up to speed on the rules so they don't do what Claypool did against the Vikings, right? Stuff like that's really important, right? And this is the thing about that, like the camp is. What are they? You can't just judge on how many TDs someone throws or catches or whatever. Like, I want to know how are Ron Schultz footwork for wide receivers, defensive line, like as well, like offensive line. I mean, footwork's important no matter what position you play in any sport. And that's a really good point. But like, how are they running routes? What's the timing? One of the things that stands out for me, I think it was Mark Caboli that tweeted it. Someone in our Slack channel overnight for you and I saw it this morning, put up about, and we will get to the super chat as well in a moment. We want to time that for a discussion on it. But someone put into the live chat a report from a tweet from one of the reporters. I'm pretty sure it was Mark Caboli, that Kenny Pickett had been doing lots of check downs and dumping off to RBs. Right now, you can look at that as a fan and sit there and go, "Oh, I want to see him throw 40-yard TDs to George Pickens." Wrong. I commented on the Slack channel. I said, I'm so happy to see that. Kenny Pickett's come from college where he can throw bombs and stuff like that and run and be athletic, right? This is where rookie QBs get into trouble. The rookie QBs that do well, and it's what worked for Mac Jones last year, and it's what didn't work for the first 6 weeks for Patrick Mahomes, is take checkdowns, take what's given to you, take the space, don't try and force something. And when things collapse, whether it's the offensive line or the play for some reason doesn't develop, or someone doesn't get open, don't try and do too much, right? Because that can kill you, that can hurt you. And we know what, like Tomlin was talking about in 2019 with Rudolph and Duck of like, don't kill us. That's all we need with this defense and with a guy like Najee and a guy like Pat Freeman. We don't need to get 15 yards every play. We just need to get 3 or 4 yards every play, not -2, 7, run behind the line of scrimmage for 1 line, like that's for 1 yard, that sort of thing. So, I think we just got to take things with a grain of salt. I know it's easy to say and we all want to get excited. But the thing for me for training camp, it's a good training camp if no one gets injured. And we've got guys that we thought were 3rd or 4th round depth that now we're seeing, hey, this guy's really good 2nd round depth, or this guy's going to push guys in the first team. It's like they asked all these questions about Larry O to Tomlin I watched the after day 1 press conference particularly. And he's like, Larry O's just come off an injury. Larry O's had his best season. We don't need to force Larry O to do anything.
Larry O just got here.
Come on. Larry O's played for 2 AFC North football teams. He knows what AFC North football is about. I mean,
well, even to that point, it's even going through the whole day and getting back into, like, these guys haven't been in a work setting for a while, right?
Correct.
They've been working on their own in their own off-season programs. They're getting to know one another. Like, it would be a fun environment to be on that football team and build that camaraderie, right? So you're getting around that. So I'm not too worried if I know a lot of reporters on the Twitterverse is saying, Pickett went 1 for 4 for whatever. Like that to me doesn't overly matter. Him building the connection with the receivers matters overall to me, and building that development.
But how do you
throughout.
know? How do you not know that the defense made a play, or how do you know that the person got blocked right, or how do you know that the center snapped the ball right, or like it's very hard. Now, if we've got people there that are saying throughout, like, look, generally this looked great, fine. But we're not on the Steelers sideline with the clipboard and going, this is what the play was meant to do, right? And also, if anyone's trained in professional sport, and we will bring up the super chat in just a sec, like anyone's trained in like a high level sport, but I'm sure it's the case in professional sport. Sometimes you will simulate things going wrong. Like that's part of it. Like particularly like when I played like, rugby and like a lot of those things, we would simulate the wrong thing happen and how would we react? How would we make a play? How would we fix? What would our solution be? If we got caught, it's different in the NFL because you no matter where you actually set the ball, you kind of centered on the field. But we used to work on what if you had more guys on one side versus the other for the offense and the defense, and how do you match up to that in 2 and 3 on one situation? So like you got to, as I say, you just got to take things with a grain of salt. And the other thing that I thought about too a little bit this week, and you brought it up there, is having fun with each other and all the rest of it, right? Like, you know what's like in a first day of school when you haven't seen your mates for a while? Maybe it's all summer or someone's been away or whatever. Mate, the first couple of days are just, maybe it's an Aussie thing, I don't know. But the first couple of days, everyone's, being a little bit silly. Things get to the afternoon on day 1 and day 2, and it's getting a bit rowdy, like as if it was the last day of school again. And that's just what it is, because you're getting back into that mindset. Like,
what's funny? Do you think that you brought up a great point? Do you think the offense will go out and throw an interception on purpose to see what the defense can do? Like maybe could pick it off, like that Canada would tell Pickett to, hey, throw this ball towards Levi Wallace or whoever's out there, Witherspoon, and see if he, you know what I'm saying? Would that ever happen, or was that?
I don't think so. Yeah, look, I think I'm not sure that part of it would be quite there yet. And with that many fans around, that's probably something that they might do a little bit more behind closed doors, I think, at this point, because you don't want day 1 and day 2 with the media furor to be.
They wouldn't do it on purpose per se to do that, but maybe just put yourself.
Yeah, but like to okay. If they, and also you don't start doing this stuff until you can get the play right. Right? Like if you can't execute the play to begin with, you don't focus on what you do if you can't execute the play. No way, right? Like that's not happening.
That'd be a bad time.
But you might say, okay, in this particular route, the receiver can go straight, or he can split more to the sideline. So for the next 5 plays, we're going straight, and it might mean that there's a matchup of a fast wide receiver on, like, let's say it was Terrell Edmonds, and Terrell Edmonds might get a little bit burnt. Right. But if he's going to the sideline, it moves to the corner of like Levi Wallace, and Levi Wallace shuts it down. Right. So like, or, it could be the tight end. And so then Levi Wallace has got to go up there and, disrupt the catch against, Patty Freeman. So we don't know what all the objective of the play could be. Pickett, your job is to hit the running back on the flat on this play, and he can't hit him. And then no one else is open and they should be open because they should make the most of every play. For whatever reason, those guys haven't run the play properly because they know the running back's going to get it. Like they're human beings. Like it's not hard to envisage this stuff. But I want to get to the super chat of Sean Manahan. $2 in the tip jar. Says, how many people lose their minds if Rudolph wins it? Yeah, I mean,
quite a few, but he's playing well apparently. So we'll see. I'm okay. I'll put it there. I'm okay with anyone. I don't care who starts, but I think this offense is around Najee Harris, and it's around giving Freiermuth and the big fellas like Pickens, and if Diontae stays or if he's going to be the guy there too, and Claypool might be moving to the slot apparently too. So I'm not overly worried about who the quarterback is because, and then, a positive thing is too, it's actually good they're all playing well. We don't want them to not play well,
Well, what I like about the slot part, and great comment from Jeremiah Yoda. That's awesome. But we're really excited to be able to talk, as always, and get into the Steelers and the season. But like we talk about slot receiver, and like you've got guys like Austin, and Diontae can do stuff out of the slot if he has to. You've got guys like they're talking at Claypool and Pickens there. Anthony Miller's another guy that can play there. Pat Freeman can do things. Everyone talks. There are some teams that have a specialist slot wide receiver. I kind of like the idea of the Steelers using the slot wide receiver as like a wild card, right? Like you
True.
never know what's going to happen. Like Juju didn't play enough in the slot for me, like on deeper routes, routes that developed shotgun routes, right? Like I always thought, and he did do a little bit of that when AB was around because AB played on the outside. But if they can use the slot part, like the other thing too is if they've got, I could see plays where, Najee's running out of that, depending on like certain formations too. If you've got Connor Hayward around, or you've got, Derek Watt in there, or you might even have one of the backup running backs if Nichols has played well a previous week or whatever. Like, I think the slot, the Steelers might go in the first few weeks with a designated slot receiver, but I think when we look back on the year and you look at the lineup at the slot position, like who's lined up there the most snaps, I think you'll find it's a lot more even. There's not going to be a massive standout there, which I really like. I mean, I don't know. I'm just thrilled that like Pickens seems to be balling out, man. I can't wait.
That's it though. Like I think even this year, this offense with Canada's guys, it does seem like a lot of young fellas have a chance to go out there and be, good to great. And this can be something where this is a full control now of the Canada system, whatever that may be. And if whatever it may be, if it's Trubisky out there, whoever he connects with and is going to move that ball forward and then play action pass, or even hand the ball off to Najee Harris. And I think this is going to be a big change, and I hope it is a big change because we see the same stuff we saw last 2 years. Oh boy, it's going to be very hard to watch, But I'm excited to see like getting Pickens involved.
Mate, we've got guys that can throw the ball. Like if they're at that age, if you're under 30 and you can't push the ball down the field, like forget it.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. If the receivers there as well, like I think Claypool, I've been off on Claypool, but over the last few days with him interacting with the fans and looking like
I liked his interview. Did you see the interview he did for like about a minute after day 1 or day 2? And they asked him why he felt he was better, and he talked about working with. I mean, I thought Brandon Marshall was a terrific receiver, and he talked about like, and he talked. It was just a minute, but he answered questions about what he's doing differently, and he admitted he's like, I haven't prepared like I should have the last few years.
Yeah, no,
you know what? Like, it doesn't make me angry as a Steel fan. That makes me happy. If you can sit there and realize that, mate, you got a bit of work to do, fantastic. That's all you and I have asked for like almost 12 months since like that Vikings game.
He went out after the first year and actually balled out as a rookie, and then the second year just really dropped off. Like, was incredibly a bad slump. But I actually enjoyed him interacting with the fans and getting back at it.
Sorry, not kicking.
It's nothing too much, but I'm just like, just getting back to the fans and interacting with them, and maybe he hasn't that retrove factor wasn't there for the last 2 years, and maybe it's showing him a sense of purpose of like, well, the Steelers are a brand, like a pretty big team. Everyone's around you. Look, you don't have to have chip on your shoulder. We're trying to support you, but go out there and make some plays, man. Go out and do something.
Well, I wonder as well. Right, he had that good year, and then he got a bit more on the. Because if you look at when you look at just after he got drafted, and I watched his YouTubes moving into Pittsburgh, and he seemed like a really cool, casual guy. And something got to him there where he focused on building the brand, and we've talked a lot about that. So I don't want to spend time talking about that social media stuff. But I wonder if after a year, and he did do so well, Ben got a bit like, and Diontae was back in the mix because Diontae had been a little bit injured the previous year, and and what have you, and Juju had been in and out. I wonder if he thought it sort of went like, I'm going to look at the other guys that I rely on more. This guy's getting a bit big for his boots in Claypool, because you think about the comments that he made this week in his interview with is it Ron Cook, whoever it is, Cook, and you sort of sit there and you're like, well. Yeah, maybe he just sort of said that, like, I don't think he would have not thrown a ball to an open Claypool, but perhaps he sort of went, I'm going to give that, give him a bit less kind of thing. He needs to sort of learn his place. So
possibly
that's kind of interesting.
Ben was like that, man. Like Ben was like that.
Yeah. But like Daredevil brings up a good question because it's in context with Brian. So Brian Brown said earlier in the live chat, the Steelers have too many receivers, someone has to go. And Daredevil says there's too many receivers, it's the best for them to have. Who's going to be the punt return, kick return? So for me, the 5 receivers right now would be, and then I think they should keep 6, but you're like Anthony Miller, Diontae Johnson, George Pickens, Austin III. Who else we got there? I'm trying to think there's 4. Claypool. I said DJ Claypool. Oh. And then the 6th one is either Gunnar O or Miles Boykin. But that depends on whether Austin's going to field kickoffs or not, like, and punt return and kick return. And I think they should be trialing him there, just personally.
But
And I don't know who else they got there.
Miles Boykin talked about being the gunner as well and how he likes playing the gunner position too. So that might help out as well in that spot. I
That's
could
what
see
I think.
Miles Boykin.
To me, Gunnar is the odd man out. I know they went and got him, but like to me, he's the odd man out.
He
Because
really is
do we
only
want another like Ray, someone that like can't really do anything at the receiving position? That they're receivers, that's their job. They're like you've got running backs. Like I don't know whether McNichols has done stuff in punt return, kick return when he was in college. I think Snell can catch. Also, I kind of with punt returns bigger for me rather than kick return because most of the time kick returns now they kick it for a touchback anyway, and the NFL wants to get rid of that. And like we are moving to a league where they don't really they kick.
No, you're right.
The kickoff's symbolic, right? Like,
with the punt return, you really want to try and get 10 yards to 15 yards average if you can. Now, if you can run one to the house, sure, that'd be fine. But getting some positive yards was fantastic. Now we had Switzer who was the man or the fair catch, and he was pretty good at it, actually. He knew how to fair catch and deceive the defense so they wouldn't know where the ball was, and that worked out. But I think there's going to be a place for Miles Boykin if he makes a team and can receive as well and play some gunner positions. But it's going to be interesting what happens because there are a lot of receivers here and a lot of guys like Pickens and Austin pushing for the chance now to be actual receivers too.
Yeah. I mean, Sean Manahan brings up like, what if Gunnar O can be the next Wes Welker? Or okay, but like, why wasn't he Wes Welker in the Patriots offense that had like defined Wes Welker?
I think the issue with
I think it's a good call. Like it's a fair point, yeah. But I don't see it, and I don't see it when you've got questions at quarterback, right? Like if we had an established quarterback, it might be a bit different. I don't know. I don't see it.
Well, the issue with Gunnar Olszewski is like, well, I guess we went and signed him to be that kick returner. I guess in most minds we say, well,
we did that with Ryan Switzer. How'd that work?
Yeah, exactly. Like, well,
sorry, I don't mean to be
no, but like he's our in the minds of the Steelers fans, like, oh, Gunnar Olszewski is going to be our returner, but maybe there's a different purpose for him, or
correct.
Maybe he may not even make the team. And if somebody else can go back there and return the punts and play receiver, I think you probably need to have both. Like, look at the way Randall L used to do it back in the day. He was a receiver, quarterback, and a punt returner. He was a fantastic player, right? You can't just have Switzer or Olszewski who may excel at that position but do nothing else. You know, they need to go out there and play on offense too, and you're exactly right. So I think they go with five or six, but we'll see because we know it's going to be Claypool, Diontae, the two rookies, and we'll see who else comes after that.
Yeah, 100%. And look, I get it. Sean Manahan says they didn't have Tom Brady anymore. I get it, but we don't like the Patriots now have a clearer answer at quarterback than what we do. So I mean that's the reality there. So it's a hard one. And Ron Schultz brings up a good question. And that's around like, do we have the wide receiver depth to let Diontae sit long term? I mean, you know, there's reports that Claypool has an injury, no matter how minor, with the shoulder. You know, Pickens is a rookie, so is Austin the third. I'm not sure, but if he's going to hold out, I'm like move him on. Like there are wide receivers that are going to be cut, you know, in throughout this preseason process, and there'll be wide receivers that are decent name that can be brought in. Like, look at the deal Metcalf signed. Diontae Johnson is not worth more than, you know, Metcalf. Metcalf with the Steelers a massive favor, right? And also, I'm kind of sick of on your rookie deal, I'm going to hold out. You sign a contract for 4 years, right? That's the contract you're playing on. Sorry. And the only position that I think they should, and I do think they should move this to 3 years with a player option, is or a pay rise based on snaps like they actually do with, you know, the rookie pay scale. But like running back should be the only position where they demand more money because they have a shorter shelf life and they get asked to do so much in college. But if you're a wide receiver, like third round wide receiver, I'm sorry, you can sit there and you can play your final year of your contract. The Steelers under no obligation to pay you more.
So you're saying, yeah, go on and play the 4 years, whatever you do, and then talk about contract, which would make more sense. But
start halfway through. There should be like a window. There should be the NFL should put in a window, like other sports have like a deal. Like in the NRL, they have a window where by August 1st it's decided, and you can even do mid-season transfers. But as of August 1, you're set until the season ends, and it's starting the bargaining window opens again in November 1. But if you're a wide receiver, like if you're Diontae Johnson on a rookie deal, you have to play that rookie deal. And what it should be is if you choose to sit out, then you're contracted to the team like the tags work for the next year or two. Like it just extends as long as you sit out. Because how is that? It makes a mockery of the contracts in the NFL, an absolute mockery.
Well, it turns them into 3.5-year contract or 3-year contracts, and they not really.
What's a 3-year contract?
Yeah, they're not committed to the team because he's really saying like either give me a contract for the Steelers or I'm going to hold in or hold out and then or trade.
And someone will use the argument, well, in a normal job, you can just resign. Fine, right? Fine. But this is a bit different because this is a set league with set teams, and he has the gun to the Steelers' head because he's saying, I'm not going to play, and you know what? Cut me and another team will pick me up and might pay me, right? That why would the Steelers want to draft someone like that? That's unfair. That weakens the whole point of drafting someone. I think this is an issue that the NFL have really got to sort out, to be honest.
These things never really work out anyway, though. Like you look at
look at Lev Bell.
Yeah.
Lev Bell. Imagine getting paid $14-15 million a year, more than anyone else at running back at the time, bar I think maybe it was one player who was on the end of their deal and it was backloaded. And you go, nah, not paying that. And then you reject 15.5 a year.
Yeah.
Come on.
And now he's
the Diontae needs the Steelers more than the Steelers need Diontae.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
And if he's going to do this shit, move him on. Just move him on.
Yeah, 130%. Like the stuff with Bell was a mockery too, right? When Bell was like, well, I want to go here, I want to go get the highest paid money, and then you end up your career just ended. When it went on from to the Jets to the Bucks to the Chiefs or wherever, it just absolutely fell apart. So you make a good point. Like, why aren't these players? I know it's got to do with money, but at the same time, when you go out there, you sign a contract for the rookie deal, go and do the 4 years, and then talk about it or talk about it along the way. But you should be showing up and at least participating in drills. You're not showing a good. I don't know what it is. I don't know. TJ Watt held out too, so it's like, what do you do with that? TJ Watt held out.
I'm gonna blow up about this. Sorry, I'm just like, what happens next year with Claypool? What, we're gonna start negotiating that one? Like, it's just gonna perpetuate. Like, I mean, I get where you're coming from, Brian Brown, and like he's like the 66 highest players, 65 receivers making more, including Pickens. He was drafted in the 3rd round. That's where he was drafted, right? There were every other team, the other 31 teams in the league didn't draft him before the Steelers, right? So the reality is, even if they want to pay him more, the Steelers have the first 4 years of his career, whether he sits out the technically 4th year or the 5th year or whatever. In my mind, they should have the rights to the 4 years. It doesn't matter, right? That's why you play well in college. I know he got drafted out of a school that's not necessarily a top school. The Steelers took the punt on him. Remember how many people criticized the pick, right? I wasn't one, but, a lot of people criticized the pick when he's got there. He had the chance with the Steelers. The same crap with AB. Like, there's no one bigger. I've referenced this before on different podcasts, but you read, like, even if you don't follow English football, right, like, soccer, but everyone knows Alex Ferguson, was the manager of Manchester United for almost 30 years. He sold David Beckham at the height of David Beckham's career because David Beckham, as he admits, got too big for the club. David Beckham thought he was more important than Man U at the time. Now, if you interview David Beckham, I'm sure he definitely respects and loves Man United, and I'm not a Man United fan, but, he does, and he might argue with that. But Alex Ferguson said he was getting too big in terms of control of the team, and no player is ever bigger than the club in any professional sport, and you move them on. Just as Big Ben wasn't more important than the Steelers, the same thing as Diontae Johnson. I'm sorry. Like, I just, he might be an all-pro and he might have all-pro stats. He agreed to that contract. If it was if the contract was an issue at the time, and yes, the rookie wage scale was in, then fine. But you don't sit there and you hold out. But at the moment, to me, he's not holding out. He's just not practicing forward the team. Hold out for me is preseason, I'm not going on the field. Hold out for me is week 1, even if they only want to put him in for 3 plays. No, I'm not going on the field. That's different.
No, he's turning up and doing stretches and and holding the clipboard, but he's just not participating in some of the drills right now, and that's what it is. But I think it will sort itself out no matter how it does, because I think you're right. It's team first mentality when we have a lot of receivers there. If Diontae Johnson gets picked up by another team or traded or whatever, sure, that's okay. But if he doesn't, then hopefully he plays this year and goes out there and plays hard for the contract, maybe with the Steelers or maybe with another team.
I mean, look, like, I don't want anyone to like be, think that I don't like DJ. I really like DJ.
Same, so do I. DJ's great.
But I don't think DJ's worth more than 14 or 15 million a year, and he's going to want 18 million. I think that's a bare minimum for him. And so I'm sorry, I'd rather them spend 18 million next year getting 2 awesome offensive linemen. And that segues in because we've got about 15 minutes of the show left. We've seen a few things this week about the offensive line. How are you feeling about that with the offensive line and some of the things we're hearing and the comments from Kendrick Green and like it's kind of interesting. Hey,
I'm kind of okay with it. Like, I just want to see, I guess the starting 5 go out there and be cohesive as a team. And it's just so brand new. Like, I know guys, like it's just so different without Big Ben, this new era. You know what I mean? So I'm keen to see like Dotson go out there again, and if maybe Green might play there or Green's playing at center. I don't know. Do I know? No. Mason Cole's out there. But I'm keen to see these fellas. Like when I saw him walk down the tunnel onto the road, be like, these players look like they're starting to get ready, right? This is the chance now. Go out there, put the pads on. Like I said, get involved in the motion, break the huddle, go into your stance, and do all the fundamental things right. And I think that's what we need to see out of training camp is not the big block on someone, but like the fundamental things of going out there, breaking the huddle, right stance, right technique and stuff like that, and just becoming a unit. Because we know from the years past when the offensive line is a unit, it's so hard to stop. The Ramon Foster days,
and to me, like everyone talks about like it's between Dotson and Green at left guard. I think people are dumbing this down. Like I think if Dotson's playing well and Green's playing well, and Cole's okay, I would be putting Daniels at center, particularly if they plan on playing Kenny Pickett. You need someone in there at center that's just 100% reliable, right? I'm not saying that Cole isn't, but like I think Daniels can be better at center and make a bigger impact. And I think Green can make a bigger impact at guard potentially than what Cole will make at center, if that makes sense. So if they're going to go Pickett, the amount of listening and reading I've done about and you look at the stats about how important an experienced center is to a younger quarterback, like it's very hard to move around, like to argue with that. And I also think the movement, that KG offers in the Matt Canada offense of where you want to, roll out a guard as well or a center is going to be really important. The Steelers, like that's what they loved about Pouncey too. So I'm going to be interested to see how this takes form. But I think, to me, hopefully throughout the preseason, we see some different combinations. I think the tackles need as much time as possible. Like Dan Moore needs as much time as possible. I think Okorafor needs as much time as possible. But I'm interested to see the way they work that interior group around and try different combinations. I want to see more of Leglue than Hassenhauer. I think Leglue's got more of a future there. But I don't, I want to see people in different positions. And one of those is making sure that Daniels gets some reps at center, because I see a world where he's called upon to do that.
Yeah, but it's also interesting too, right? Because this whole O-line group is pretty young, right? And the whole offense is really young. I think is it the oldest guy is what, Daniels, maybe 26 or
he's
27?
Like I thought he was younger than that. I think he's younger than that. I
thought
he's like 25.
Well, there you go. I think he's the oldest one out of the whole group, because all of them are really pretty much second-year players or third-year players. Chooks is third or fourth-year player, but still,
he's 24. He'll turn 25 just as the season starts.
Is he the oldest one then out of all of them? Must be around that age.
No, I think Okorafor is the same age.
Right, but still, we have a very young group, right? Compared to the other days.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure Okorafor is 26.
Right. So we need some people to take some leadership on that group as well, and it's going to be very interesting to how they work with the quarterback, whoever that may be, right? So I'm keen to see.
Kevin Dotson's older, actually. Kevin Dotson's 26. Okorafor is 25. Yeah. Mason Cole's 26.
Okay.
Hassenhauer's 27. John Leglue's 26.
Right. So we're all around that mid range of like that's.
There's no one older than 28 apart until you get to Haig, I think.
There you go. See, so it's not that it's a very young offensive line for
Chaz
this
Green's
group.
30. Yeah, Joe Haig's 30. I mean, even Haig's technically still a little bit young. This Trent Scott guy out of Grambling, he's 28. Yeah.
There you go.
Steelers birthdays.
Yeah, welcome to the happy birthday segment.
Sean Manahan puts $2 in a tip jar. Oh, almost put him in a timeout. As long as we don't have a center snap over their quarterback head. I mean, yeah, and look, I think George Chesson said he heard Daniel struggled at center. It's one of those positions where if you're not doing it day in, day out, like you're gonna have to warm up to that a little bit. Like, so I think we've just got to be like, we just got to be measured in our expectations. I know that sounds like really buzzkill.
We need to be. You know what was funny the other day on the preview? I think Jeff was talking about it. Like we always expect the next thing, right? It's the instant gratification, and then they talked about that. And we have training camp. What do we want next? We want preseason. What do we want next? We want the game. What do we want next? And then the season's over. It's over.
There's part of me, this is going to sound really bad. There's part of me that wants the playoffs right now. I just want to watch them compete.
Yeah, but then it's
I was
over.
going fast forward,
But then we've got to wait another year. Like, I don't want to wish away another year waiting for the season.
No, and I don't know about you, but I feel like this season has been a longer off season than last year.
I think it has to a certain degree.
I think it has been too because of all the change. So there's been less like we know this person's going to fit in here and that's not changing, but because like so much has changed across the board, like it's pretty crazy.
From general manager to QB to all these offense free agents coming in and brand new team. Latrobe's back, so the influence of that. 3 preseason games now, like there's a lot of change, and we are destined to become the 4th in the AFC North. But yeah, it's like we're just got to be patient, go through the motions, and there'll be a preseason game coming in about 14 days or whatever it is, and then we'll be like, oh my, what happened? And then we'll move on to the next one. But I like the way it's progressing at the moment. I think it's fun to get around these players like Pickett, Najee, those dudes, and it's like, this is a new era. This is a new era of the Steelers.
Yeah, exactly. What did you think about the running back acquisition as well?
Oh, who's that bloke? McNichols?
Jeremy McNichols.
I got a theory on this. So I haven't really looked at it because I know a lot of players, you jump down, you go and look at the highlights and the stats, right? I've looked at nothing because I think about it as, well, that's his past, right? That's his past. And we have now only probably a training camp and a few days away to judge him when we see him play preseason. Like, why would I go and bother? No offense to if I should do my homework like Kyler Murray wasn't doing, right? Why would I go and look at the stats and stuff like that when he can literally play in about a few days? I'm just keen to see him play, and then the
thing is, like, a lot of people, like, for me, I did go look at his stats. Obviously, like that's just what I'm like, and like, Daniel H under 500, get out of here. But basically, like, I looked at it, and to me, he hasn't done as much as what some people think he has. But I was actually surprised about some of his receiving stats. I think he's going to fit in well. I think I'm like, and I know him, look, see, people are already like fans of him. Cool. Like, I think he's going to help. I think he's better than Ant Mac of in terms of contribution he can make today. Can he play, 30 downs a game? I don't know. That's a question mark. No one knows that because he hasn't done it. So, that it just is what it is. But I still sit there. I'm like, you don't know who's going to be cut throughout this process. There's another really good running back. They become available. I'm not going to sit there and go, no, you're not coming in because of Jeremy McNichols, right? Like, so, but I do like it. I like that they went and got someone. And remember when we predicted the roster? I said very clearly, there's the depth chart will include a running back not on the roster right now. And what do you know?
Oh, they cut my guy. They cut my guy, Trey Edmonds. He's my guy.
Oh, you have to fight Jeffrey Benedict for it. It's his guy too.
I like the way he played the game. I know he only had a few runs, but maybe it was that 45-yard run was just like big guys running down the field like that. But yeah, back to McNichols, right? Yeah, I'm keen to see what he can do in training camp and if he can be a 2 or 3 because it's really going to be pressure on Snell and McFarland. And come on, guys, like first preseason game, just run the ball 80 times and just show me what these running backs can do. Please.
And there's a live chat, Daniel. Look, I get where you're coming from on the -500. I'm just not betting against Tomlin's record on this defense.
No, if you had to have one bet and you like look at the history of Tomlin, you'd be like, no, you go the opposite. You go, the stats say he has a better chance to be 4 than less, less 500. Yeah,
even if he'll find a way to draw if he has to. Like they had an even season last year with 17 games. Like, and Ron Schultz says he thinks Benny will be released. He's too slow. The Steelers, like, even off what he's done so far, they're not like they look at the way they kept Jalen Samuels. They're not getting rid of Benny Snell on the rookie deal with what he offers them. He's the guy that's been there in that locker room and knows those plays more than anyone. He's not going anywhere. Like, it's just not happening. It's not happening. Anything else about the offense? Because obviously we'll talk about defense next week, but is there anything else about the offense that you thought's been interesting through training camp or you want to see as training camp develops?
No, I'm just kind of interested in the coaches too, like just to see schematic wise what is happening. I saw little bits of videos from fans or reporters on the 7-shot stuff like that, but I'm just intrigued about how it's going to work overall. If they're going to go into shotgun, if they're going to go into more motion, if they're going to go into play action.
I think shotgun's going to be interesting because we had a lot of shotgun with Ben versus what are we going to have, and like with what Mason Rudolph's comfortable with. But how does that translate to what these next set of quarterbacks comfortable with? Like I would have thought Pickett, it would be something he'd be comfortable with. But then you'd think Mason and Trubisky, it's probably more play action under center sort of stuff.
Even I think Mason Rudolph said that in a tweet I saw was like he was saying he was comfortable with the play action passes. But I'm intrigued as well to see how they're going to manage Najee Harris's reps, but also how they're going to just disguise him where you can't tell the defense they're going to run the ball straight every single time. Let's get involved in some motion. Let's get involved in some screen work or some get involved Pickens or some, one-on-one matchups with maybe Claypool versus the third best corner, stuff like that. Like stuff that you probably meant to do where it's like the mismatch of the offense versus the defense.
Diontae versus his contract terms.
Oh, mercy.
I don't know.
You can't. Yeah, there's no.
He got paid millions of dollars a year to play football. I'm like, I'm not dumbing that down. It's just so many people would love to be in that position.
It is kind of funny because I think of a sense like if I was already moved into Pittsburgh, I would probably cut maybe $7 million off because I've got my house there, my family there, and you're still getting $10 million a year. Is that not fine? But in saying that, there's greed and money talks, right? So. But yeah, I'm so intrigued to see what this offense can actually look like, and we won't know until a few weeks into it, right? As the season progresses. But somehow you got to hide Najee where Najee can go and do the work, but don't tell the defense that you're running the ball all the time and use the run.
That's why I think they're gonna have to use him in the slot. I think they're gonna have to use him in the slot or motion him into the slot. I think that's how it's got to go. Otherwise, it's going to be obvious that they're using him all the time.
This is actually probably the best time to be a Steelers fan right now. The new era of no Big Ben, and we have whatever quarterback we may use. And I love Big Ben, but it's a whole new offense. It's like, what? How can you not be excited for this? Whoever it may be, because this is the time now. Well, if it does struggle, well, come on, Canada, what are you doing, mate? You've got how many weapons does he have? even the guy fighting with a contract, like how many weapons? Come on, man.
I think Austin the Third is going to be like,
another guy too, man.
He's going to be a guy that's it's not going to be early on too. It's going to be like week 5 or 6, and there's just going to be some play, and Austin's just going to go nuts, and then it's going to be Austin fever for like 3 or 4 weeks. It's just going to be.
Well, I'm excited for the preseason too for that as well because obviously they weren't going to show everything, but the guys who are backups like Snell and those guys, I think you have to go out there and. I don't care if it's the guy, if you're versing a third linebacker, go and run him over. Go and show
I want to see Mateo Durant truck someone,
Yeah, 100%. Like, go and show your dominance and go out and win. They say it doesn't count, but it does feel like I think we kind of need a win. I think we kind of need a win to versus Seattle at home and just get that vibe back up where, like, yes, we played well today and build that. It's like the Ravens. The Ravens have never lost a preseason game because they're crazy. They've won like 20 in a row. Because they go out there for
go for the almost a swear word out there. They'll always go for 2 points. Daniel H asks to close out the show. I think it's a good question to close out the show with, and appreciate the feedback, Clint. We're really key to be here. But Daniel says, define success this year for the more than 500 playoffs, win a playoff game. To me, I think winning a playoff game is a pass mark, but I want to see them win a couple of playoff games. I'm sick of seeing one round and out.
I'll tell you what success is to me. And I think he's alluding that, the Tomlin's never had a losing season. I think that some fans don't like Tomlin. And I just really can't understand that. Tomlin's going to be in the Hall of Fame. And I think it's the point now we need to respect Tomlin.
If you don't like Tomlin,
it's crazy. It's crazy, mate. 100%. If you're at the moment don't like Tomlin, there's something going on in your head, because right now I think Tomlin deserves respect. He's the 16th most winning coach in the NFL. He will go to the Hall of Fame. I will be there, no matter if it's going to be 2045. I will be there. So that means he's playing for the next 18 years. So deal with it, right? But success to me is what's happening now, is growing. If Kenny Pickett goes out there and plays really bad, and then next few games he starts playing better. One thing we forget as Steelers fans, and I know this for sure, is we are all focused about the Super Bowl. But you forget about the ride. The ride is getting behind Najee in the progression of the player. The ride is the progression of the player being Kevin Dotson or Trubisky.
It's like the questions that are out there at the moment we had early on the show, and I think we've got to close out now. But everyone talks about it. Will the fans go nuts if Mason Rudolph is the quarterback? You can go nuts, but imagine a world where Mason Rudolph is the quarterback and the Steelers go 10-7. 10-7, right? Or 9-6-1. Oh no, it would be 9-7. Yeah. You sit there and you're like, well, it's not exactly the worst considering that offensive line. So I just, I'm not saying he should be the quarterback at all. I think other people should be the quarterback. That's my honest opinion. But I'm just saying, if he is the quarterback and they make the playoffs, you can't sit there in the season and go, Mason Rudolph shouldn't have been the quarterback, because that was what the Steelers went with. That's what they played with. Ultimately, they're a team around that. It is what it is. And regardless, this team needs to ride Najee this season. That's it. So anyway, with that, I think that wraps up this week's Steelers Touch Down Under. I'm Matty Peverell with Marky D as always.
Go Steelers. Oh, we're still here.